Welcome in, guys. The college football playoff rankings are here. And get this, college basketball has tipped off for 24-25.
Can I please have your attention?
There's all a commotion around here.
What are you talking about?
Let them yap at you.
It's actually very exciting.
Welcome to the Big Fuss Show. This is Brad. I have John Hammonds. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man?
We are here to do our Big Fuss Show tonight, week 11, season 3. If you are on Facebook with us, you can help support us by sending stars, or you can also subscribe to our page, 99 cents a month. It does help us to earn money to continue to make more content for you guys. And we are here to have a little bit of fun for you guys tonight. Also, if you're on YouTube, share, like, tell your friends, tell others. We would love to have more on our YouTube channel as well, and we appreciate you guys as well. So, all right, guys, welcome in to the Big Fuss Show. The college football playoffs rankings are out. They come out last night. In case nobody was paying any attention last night, because there was something else going on last night, Hammonds, that everybody was paying attention to and talking about. I don't know. I was lost and I didn't really know what was going on. But anyways, I'm not going to bring that stuff up on this show. But what I am going to bring up,
I will say this: Donald Trump's in office. The end. Let's move on.
what I am going to bring up here is that in the midst of all that last night, the college football playoff rankings come out last night, and we are here to do a little bit of talk about the college football playoff rankings. So the top 25 was released. I'm going to start at the bottom. Number 25 was Army. John, Army is 8-0. They are still undefeated. And coming in at 25. When this season started, did you think you would see Army in the first college football playoff rankings?
Probably not. No.
Yeah, I don't think so either, to be quite honest. 24 was Missouri at 6-2. Clemson is 23 at 6-2. Louisville, who just beat Clemson, comes in at 22, and they are 6-3. John, they are the only team with 3 losses in the college football playoff rankings. What do you think about that? With Louisville,
and they're coming off a big win against Clemson.
They are. I just said that they beat Clemson, so they're in front of Clemson, but they do have 3 losses, and they are the only team in the college football playoff rankings with 3 losses. What do you think about that?
I mean,
do you think they deserve it?
I think they have up to this point.
All right. And then number 21 is Washington State, who is still they're 7-1. They've only got the one loss this year.
I've said this probably since 2-3 weeks ago. They're the wild card in all this. If they
are, because if you look at them, man, they could continue to keep winning probably.
If they got to have a few teams in front of them get beat, but they got to keep winning to get to that point. They got to see some teams, to lose. So.
I agree. They are the lowest one-loss team at 21. Number 20 is 6-2 Colorado. Number 19 is 7-2 Kansas State. 18 is 7-1 Pittsburgh. Iowa State is 17 at 7-1. Ole Miss is 16 at 7-2. LSU is 15 at 6-2 and beat Ole Miss. Texas A&M is 14 at 7-2, and SMU is 13 at 8-1. They are the first team out of the top 12.
You want me to do the top 12? You want me to do the top 12?
Yep, you can do the top 12. So
all right. The top 12, number 12 is Boise State coming in at 7-1. Number 11 is Alabama at 6-2. Now, me and Brad to kind of get into this one. I don't think they belong there. I just don't. I think there's a couple of teams behind them that could have a more say than Alabama because, which granted, the Vanderbilt game, I mean, if you look back at it now, Vanderbilt's much improved, but Alabama just does not look like a top 12 playoff team all year long. Their defense isn't that great. I mean, they've had a couple games where their offense hasn't played that great.
We'll get to who's too high and too low, and I've got all that in there. Go ahead with the rundown.
10 is Notre Dame at 7-1. Number 9 is BYU at 8-0. Number 8 is Indiana at 9-0. Tennessee at 7-1. Penn State at 7-1. Texas at 7-1 at 6-5.
Yep.
4 is Miami at 9-0. Georgia's 3 at 7-1. 2 is 7-1 Ohio State. And then to round out the number 1 team is Oregon at number 1, and they're 9-0.
Yeah, so there is the rundown of your college football playoff rankings top 25 and the top 12. Of course, it's a 12-team playoff, John, so being inside of that top 12 is what is most important. It's nice to be in the rankings because it does say something about your program if you are included in these rankings. Like I said, Louisville is the only team included that has 3 losses. Alabama is the only team included in the top 12 that has 2 losses. Everybody else is at 0 or 1 loss in the top 12. Every single team. So, John, you've already kind of indicated this one. This was going to be my first question after the rundown. Who is too high in these rankings? And it don't have to be top 12. It could be somebody else down below. It could be anybody in the top 25. But who do you think is too high in these college football playoff rankings? And you can give me more. You can give me more than one team. I just, what teams do you think is the teams that are too high?
I think Alabama is. Now I will say they're very explosive on offense. When Jalen Milroe is good, they can beat anybody in the country. The only thing I worry about with Alabama is there's some questions about their defense. Now, do they have the defense to win a national championship? That's my biggest question. Now, they got the offense to win a championship, but you got to have at least a little bit of defense, and I have not seen that this year. Vanderbilt run roughshod over them. Diego Pavia, Georgia wore them out, blitzed them in the second half. There's just a lot of questions there for Alabama, I think. And
South Carolina nearly got them.
In South Carolina,
in Tuscaloosa.
And the other team that I think is too high is Notre Dame. I'm just not a big fan of Notre Dame, to be honest. I think Indiana should be ahead of them. They have a home loss. They have a home loss to Northern Illinois.
Indiana. Yeah, they do. Notre Dame does. Yes.
Now we'll say Notre Dame has a win over A&M, which is looking even bigger now. than it did
Right.
early. But no matter what happens the rest of the year, Notre Dame, I don't think can rank higher than number 5 because they're not in a conference.
Right. They can't.
So they're basically stuck where they are.
I mean, here's the deal with Alabama, guys. And Clyde and Josh is on here, and we're kind of talking about Bama right now a little bit here. So I'll throw this out here. This game this week is basically an elimination game for the top 12. You've got LSU and Alabama going at it this week. College game day is going to be there. And here's the deal. The loser of that game is basically out. I mean, they might still hang around in the bottom half of the college football playoff rankings, but they are not making the college football playoffs this year.
No,
that's my bold statement of the night.
The loser of this game is probably going to be looking at a Citrus Bowl or one of the top level bowls behind the college football playoff. And the winner, like you said, gets a notch up in the totem pole and gets an opportunity to actually play some more and get opportunities to be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, it's a huge game this week between Alabama and LSU. That's the reason why College Game Day is going to be there this week. Like I said, it's basically an elimination game. And I kind of agree that I don't really think Bama should be in the top 12. I will tell you a little bit later here the team that I think that really should be there when you look at resumes and stuff. But I get it because they did handle Georgia. They almost let them come back, but they did get the big touchdown at the end and still won that game. So that's a pretty nice win on their resume, even though they have Vanderbilt loss and, a couple of things too. So I kind of get it. But this weekend's game is going to be the telltale because if LSU beats them, Bama's out. They are not getting in.
LSU's out if they lose.
Week.
So
exactly. It is. They're both out. I mean, whoever loses. Yeah, for sure. All right, John. I asked you who was too high. Who is too low in the college football rankings?
That's a good question. I think SMU. They beat Pittsburgh. They're undefeated in the ACC. Their only loss was to BYU.
A 3-point loss, by the way.
A 3-point
loss.
A
3-point loss.
They don't play a team with a record over 500 the rest of the year.
Right.
And they went into Louisville.
SMU's looking pretty good right now. Yeah.
They are. And they went into Louisville and beat Louisville.
They did.
Now, I'm going to say this. Beyond that, there's maybe 2 teams that I think could make a push. And that's Iowa State and maybe Pitt. I'll say this. I know everybody hypes on the Deion Sanders bandwagon. He's still got a shot to play for the Big 12 championship. He's got a big game this weekend against Texas Tech. But I think probably
no matter what, one of those Big 12 teams is going to get in, even if they're not inside the top 12. They're still going to get in because the championship winner gets in. The highest ranked championship winner gets in.
But like you said, probably the next couple, if we're being fair, is probably SMU and Ole Miss. Because if Ole Miss,
I think Ole Miss is too low.
If they could knock off Georgia this weekend, that could put them in a prime position to be in the college football playoff.
John Robinson, UK plays Texas next Saturday, not this. No, I take that back. UK plays Murray State next Saturday, and then 2 weeks from Saturday, we play Texas.
This ain't
Yes,
Kentucky.
I would
So
probably
this ain't
always
Kentucky
say,
stuff, people. Like,
yeah,
everybody's talking Kentucky.
yeah. So my teams that are too high, John, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Miami's too high. I just do. I think Miami's too high in the college football playoff. Their resume is no better than Indiana's. They're both 9-0. If you look at their resume, it's no better than Indiana's. Indiana is at 8. Miami is at 4. The only reason why that would happen is name brand. That's it. Because they are Miami and Indiana is Indiana for football. That's it.
Here's another thing I kind of want to get at with this, Brad, is Miami's winning with their offense, with Cam Ward. I love watching Cam Ward. I'm not sure people how good he was when he was at Washington State, because a lot of people never got the opportunity to watch him like most people got to watch him out there. They got Damian Martinez. They got Xavier Restbrook, the wide receiver.
They have great players, but
they do.
John,
Here's the
wait a minute. 4 of the last 5 games that they have played, they have given up 31 or more points in 4 of the last 5 games that they have played.
Here's the question that I have with Miami going forward is how is it going to play against one of the better teams in the sport, like a team like Oregon, a team like, Texas,
Ohio State, Georgia.
They've had a lot
Texas.
of close games.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if it's sort of similar to the year that Florida State, remember the 2014 Florida State team, Jameis Winston, they went into the Oregon game and they got absolutely humiliated. I think, what was it, the Rose Bowl, I think. Like, how do they compete against the bigger teams? Because they're just barely scraping by with some of the under the radar teams in the ACC.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. That's mine. If you're going to tell me, ask me that question, my too high is Miami. There is no way on the face of this earth Miami should be above Texas. There's no way on the face of this earth. I don't think there's any way that should happen. I don't care if Texas is 7-1 and Miami is 8-0. Miami is too high. Indiana is probably a little too low, and I think that Indiana, BYU, and SMU are all too low. So that's some of my too low teams. Now, I'm going to ask you this question, John. Which team currently not in the top 12 has the best chance to get in? And you kind of hinted at this. It's probably one of those Big 12 teams that's going to have a real good chance because
probably Colorado.
Between Iowa State, Colorado, and Kansas State, one of those 3 teams is probably going to be in the championship game, and one of those 3 is going to have a shot to win the championship.
Well, Colorado's probably one of those. Possibly Iowa State, possibly Pittsburgh. Washington State is my wild card, but I think they have the most difficult path because they don't have a conference championship.
Well, and they have to depend on some of these others.
They would need to rank. They would probably need to rank no lower than 11 by the season's end to guarantee them a spot, and they got to have a bunch of teams get beat.
Yeah.
And that's right. That's a very big if.
But they could sneak in if that happens.
If that
Washington
happens,
State could.
My team right now would probably be Colorado. I mean, they're playing as good as anybody right now. Travis Hunter's playing at elite level. Shadur Sanders is playing at elite level.
I mean, they're going to have a shot if they can get to the Big 12 championship.
Defense is playing better. If they could beat Texas Tech this weekend, they got an opportunity to get into that Big 12 championship game. And if they get to the Big 12 championship game and maybe could upset Iowa State or BYU, there's a good chance they could get in.
Yeah, they would get in if they're the winner in that game.
And, Deion still got a lot to play for this weekend, which now Texas Tech, they upset, who was it last week? Was it Kansas? No, it was Iowa State. That's who it was.
Iowa State. They upset Iowa State last week. Texas Tech is still in that conversation too, I think, in the Big 12.
No, not really. I mean,
don't they just have 2 losses?
I think they have 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe 1. Oh,
I can't remember.
They might.
I can't remember.
They might. You might be right on that.
An Army.
I was thinking it was just 2 losses.
Army's probably a long shot, to be honest. And I say that.
Well, Army's problem is Boise State.
Well, and another thing, Army hasn't really beaten a ranked. They haven't beaten a ranked team yet either. So.
Well, only one group of 5 team is going to get in, and Boise State's at 12, and they're at 25.
I will say this: if they was to go into South Bend and beat Notre Dame, that might change the whole complexion. They might could get on that bubble and flop in there, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. So here's my teams. This weekend's going to tell a lot, to be honest with you. There's 2 SEC teams. You got Ole Miss playing Georgia, and you got LSU playing Alabama. There's 2 SEC teams with 2 losses that if they could get that win this weekend, they certainly have a shot of getting in, both of them, getting into the college football playoff out of the SEC. So that's 2 teams.
And that's 2.
SMU.
That's 2 primetime games too. Like those are the 3:30.
SMU is sitting at 13. And their schedule, John alluded to it earlier, they don't play anybody with a above 500 record closing the season out here. And SMU has a really good shot to be inside that top 12, 11 by the time the season's over with. So SMU has a shot. And then, of course, the teams that John talked about, all the teams, Washington State, Colorado, Kansas State, Iowa State, even Army, an outside shot with a group of 5 because they're still undefeated. Yeah, Pittsburgh would still have a shot. They've only lost the 1 game. Yeah, Pittsburgh would have a shot.
But the way Pittsburgh lost to SMU and SMU has that win over them, it's going to be tough for them to leapfrog SMU. SMU would have to.
It just depends on how the tiebreakers work if they both have one. Well, no, SMU's undefeated. They haven't lost.
That's right. They're undefeated in ACC. So
their loss was to BYU.
And they still got a chance to play in the ACC championship. So.
Yeah, because they're undefeated. If they could go out, they're in the ACC championship game. Yeah. Because, you got 2 undefeated in the ACC with Miami and SMU now. So, if they could win out, it's big for them. So let's see. Clyde says, I hope Georgia loses to Ole Miss and Tennessee. Now, come on, man. I don't know about all that. All right, Jonathan Garrison. I got through.
That's just silly, John.
That he wouldn't come here. Okay. I just was trying to read what it said. So, all right, I got you. All right, John, we're going to play a little game. This is a blind resume game for college football playoffs. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And you may have seen my post and you might have seen a little sneak peek here, but we're still going to play this game. All right. So blind resume number 1. Team number 1 is 9-0, has a strength of schedule of 54, has 1 top 25 win. Team number 2 is 8-0, has a strength of schedule of 41 and has 2 top 25 wins. When you look at this, who should be in the top 12 and who should be out, according to the resumes?
Probably
Team one or team two?
Probably team two because of their strength of schedule.
So team one's 9-0, team two's 8-0, but team one's strength of schedule is 54, where team two is 41, and they have 2 wins where team one has 1 win over top 25.
Let me guess who team
right?
one is. Yeah. Team one is Oregon.
And team two? Who do you think team two is?
Probably Indiana.
You're wrong on both, but here's who team one is Miami. Team one is Miami. Team two is BYU.
Ain't that something?
I'm telling you, College Football Playoff Committee is going to have a problem because these rankings, when you start looking at metrics per this season, some of this stuff don't add up. Miami's resume is way worse than number 9 BYU. And people say, well, BYU don't play nobody. Well, hello, look at the strength of schedule.
You know, this BYU team. This BYU team to me kind of feels like the TCU team that was in the championship game in 2002. No, Bo, I do not. But anyways,
he's
he
just
had to start his stuff. But I'll say this: when you look at some of the resumes around college football, Miami's it's good.
I'm telling you, there's no way Miami should be sitting at number 4 in this college football playoff.
Now take this, switch it up here, Brad. Say if that was Indiana's schedule, who would get in that regard? Would Indiana get in? Would Indiana get in over Miami?
I don't even think Indiana would get in with Miami's resume, to be honest. And Miami's sitting at number 4. I know they're 9-0, but their strength of schedule is 54, and they have 1 top 25 win. That's it. BYU's got 2 top 25 wins, and their strength of schedule is 41.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got a second one. Blind resume game number 2. Team 3, they are 7-1. Their strength of schedule is 49, and they have 0 top 25 wins. 0. Team 4 is 8-1. Their strength of schedule is 60, but they have 2 top 25 wins.
Let me guess what number 2, the second one is. Is the second one Ohio State?
You talking about team 3?
No, team 4.
Team 4? Nope. So team 3, what's your guess?
Team 3, 8-1.
Team 3 is 7-1. Schedule strength is 49, but they have 0 top 25 wins.
Team 3. Would it be Tennessee?
Team 3 is Texas. They have 0 top 25 wins. Now, their strength of schedule is a little better, but Team 3 is Texas. Team 4, guess who Team 4 is?
Tennessee.
Team 4 is number 13 SMU.
That's pretty remarkable, like some of these.
Team 4, and I'll get back to it here. There it is. Team 4 is 8-1. Their strength of schedule is 60, but they have 2 top 25 wins. Texas has 0 top 25 wins. They're 7-1, and their strength of schedule is 49. But Texas is 5, and SMU is 13. So you can't tell me that Brand
has a lot to do with it, but a lot of
you can't tell me that Brand's not making a difference here. You can't tell me that.
The SEC has a lot of difference of it too with the conference. That has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, but when you look at the resumes for this season and schedule and strength of schedule and everything else, I'm telling you, if this continues to happen, I'm not saying it's going to change this year, but if this continues to happen, I think it's going to wind up being a problem because if in the basketball tournament, they've now used all the analytics and all the thing and stuff to get teams in and out. And, now it's going to wind up being important. They're going to have to really look at season analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the season analytics here, I'm telling you, some of these teams are pretty highly overrated. And I thought this would be kind of a fun little thing to do tonight, to have a blind resume here, and talk about college football playoff a little bit.
That's like with Texas. I mean, I still like Texas. The last couple of games, they've not really had some of their best showings. They got a bye week this week.
The Vanderbilt game. Yeah.
And down the stretch, they got a tough game with Texas A&M that could decide a few things. So they're going to have to pick it up when it comes down the stretch here.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up our college football playoff rankings talk tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed that, the blind resume stuff there. If I can find another one to do next week when the new rankings come out, I will try to do one next week as well if I can find one. I just think that it's pretty glaring kind of to look at, but that is going to wrap up our college football playoff rankings talk tonight. We are going to begin here at College Sportscast. This is our first official night on the Big Fuss Show, or maybe Friday with the Game Day Pick'em. This is our first official talk for college basketball. College basketball began on Monday night. And John, just your thoughts so far. We're going to get into some of the games, but just your thoughts on your excitement for college basketball and everything starting.
I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I watched quite a bit of basketball Monday night. Alabama looked really good. Gonzaga looked really, really good. Gonzaga is going to be a problem. Braden Huff, that team has got some dudes, and Gonzaga is going to be really fun to watch this year. Baylor is going to have to figure things out. I know they got Arkansas Saturday. They're going to have to figure some things out there. The Cooper Flag era started. I felt like Duke played good at times. They looked kind of disoriented at times. That's going to be normal with freshman teams. North Carolina, I thought, struggled a little bit with Elon. North
They
Carolina,
did, and it was at home.
They'll figure it out though. Now I will say
They're without Baycock. Imagine that, guys. Baycock's been there for 10 years. He's gone finally.
Finally. UCF upset Texas A&M. I thought that was a big win for UCF. Ohio State beat Texas. Kentucky looked good.
Yeah, the SEC kind of had a rough opening night, John.
It's going to be fun to watch. Overall, I'm excited. We had another upset tonight. Well, I wouldn't call it an upset, but it's an upset, more or less, I guess. Villanova. Let me find it. Hold on a minute. Villanova lost to Columbia tonight.
90-80. Yep.
When's the Kyle Neptune era going to be over in Wildcat land?
I would think that this season he'll be on the hot seat if he don't make a run.
Last year they lost
tournament run.
They lost some games early. They lost to Penn. They lost to some teams that didn't even make the tournament.
Yep.
And they haven't been right since Jay Wright left. Not been the same.
They have not.
They have not.
But all right, John, I'm going to flip this.
I'm
going to flip this. I'm going to talk about the women's game for just a second. I've got a couple of games here that I want to mention and talk about for just a second, and then we're going to flip back and talk about some men's as well. But John, I don't know if you got to watch any of this on Monday. Monday early, 11 o'clock Central Time, noon Eastern Time. Ole Miss and USC played in Paris. This was a top 10 matchup. And it come down to the wire. USC hit 12 straight free throws. The last 12 points was from the free throw line. And Ole Miss had the ball tied with 21 seconds to go, had the inbounds, and they turned the ball over. USC goes down, draws a foul, hits 2 free throws, and beats them 68-66 in the opening game for women's college basketball. This was in Paris, and Louisville and UCLA played after this. But this game, of course, had Juju Watkins, who's going to be one of the stars in women's college basketball this year. Did you get a chance to watch any of that game? All right. So I did watch a little bit of the second half, to be honest with you, in this game. And Ole Miss, man, they were hitting shots. USC couldn't even hit a shot, but they kept drawing. Ole Miss was playing great defense, except they were fouling. And they would go to the line, hit free throws, and go back ahead. And they would come down and hit a tough shot, guarded, defended, everything else, go up. And then they'd come down, commit a foul. They'd hit 2 free throws. I mean, it's just like, hello, you've got to play defense without fouling. But Juju almost got beat in her first game this season, but they pulled out the win 68-66. The second game I want to talk about, Monday night in Vegas, Michigan played South Carolina, 2-time defending champ, South Carolina, in the Hall of Fame series in Vegas. This was where Texas and Ohio State played later. This was the early game that night, Michigan and South Carolina. South Carolina is coming off another championship run. They are loaded with guards. They don't really have that much size. And there was a freshman that come in for Michigan and put up 27 points and 12 rebounds against the defending champs in Vegas, her very first game on the floor for Michigan. I can't pronounce her name, so I'm not going to try it. But she is a freshman, and you go to our page. You can scroll down. I have put it up on a post up or a share up on our page, and South Carolina had to hold on, and they won 68-62, I think, that night. Chloe Kitts, got to give her a shout out. She played excellent. She had 19 points, 14 boards. She is going to be what looks like a leader on this team. On the inside, she's 6'2". She's a little bit undersized for the women's game now at 6'2" on the inside, but she played really well against Michigan. Like I said, 19 points, 14 rebounds, but they're loaded with guards. Tahina Paopao, Tess Johnson, Malaysia Fawiley, Bree Hall. I mean, they're loaded with guards. And this South Carolina team is going to be they're preseason number one again. So, but both of these teams, USC and South Carolina, had to hang on in the first wins. So I just wanted to mention, I'm going to try to cover a little bit of both this year and talk a little bit about both. So you guys bear with me. I think it's exciting. The women's game is really starting to pick up and got a lot of fans. And I think some people really like to hear about it and talk about it. So, all right, John, Gonzaga and Baylor Monday night. Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
all I can say is wow. So this was a top 10 matchup, number 6 versus number 8. And Gonzaga just laid the wood to Baylor. What was it, 101-63 or something like that? And, I mean, Baylor's a preseason top 10 team. VJ Edgecombe, LJ Cryer's at Houston. I'm sorry. I knew that. But anyway, VJ Edgecombe had a poster dunk. If you didn't see his poster dunk in this game, you have to see his poster dunk because
and you know what's crazy
it's
is
pretty
on
nasty.
Mark Few. That was Mark Few's son too. It was
Son. Yes, that was on Mark Few's son that he put him in during garbage time. It was during garbage time. Like I said, they were beating him 40 points.
Yeah.
But VJ Edgecombe had a poster dunk. You have to see it if you hadn't seen it.
See, Braden Huff had 14 points. Listen, the Bears, I think, what was it, Brad? They missed their first 5 shots. And it was just like, and then all of a sudden, Graham Ike, he dominated that game for Gonzaga.
Absolutely. Their bigs, their bigs just dominated Baylor in this game. Just absolutely.
Now, I will say, a thing that really kind of caught my eye was when Scott Drew made a statement. I think it was after the game. He said about overreaction to one game, that you can just take. See, that's the thing about basketball. You can have a game like this, and you can come back the next night and fix those errors. It's not like football. Football, you lose 1 or 2 games, it's over with. 3 games, you're done. And they have a lot to work on. Gonzaga, I think, is going to be in the top 10 probably all year. If they play like they did Saturday or Monday night, they won't nobody beat them in the West Coast Conference.
Like, seriously, Gonzaga looked really, really good Monday night.
They looked like a Final Four team Monday night.
They did.
Is that the fact that is Baylor just a young team? And
they
they're
are kind of young,
With the freshmen, is it that's the biggest question, because Baylor's going to get better as the year goes.
They are. I think Baylor, Scott Drew, I told you before the game I was excited to watch it, and then I got home to watch it, and I was like, wow, this ain't no contest. But I think Baylor is going to be a better team, so we'll see. But Gonzaga laid the wood to them the other night. So I had to talk about that. All right, John. Here's my question.
Is this the last part of the
This
night?
season, I've got a few games we're going
Okay.
to talk about after
Because
this.
you mentioned something towards the
coming
end.
up.
You said you would ask, so I didn't know.
This is my last really kind of big question, and then I've got a few games that's going to come up that we're going to talk about here. But this is my last one. So, college basketball. Who is going to have the better overall record? USC,
God. That's a good question.
Arkansas, or Kentucky?
That's a good
Now,
question.
if you don't know, Arkansas's coach is now at USC. Kentucky's coach is now at Arkansas. And BYU's coach, I could put BYU in here too, because BYU's got a good coach. Could put BYU's coach in here too and say USC, Arkansas, Kentucky, or BYU. Who's going to have the better overall record this season? We're just starting, and I thought it'd be a good time to ask it.
Kentucky. I think they have a better range of shooters. I think they have the more experienced team. I'm gonna be honest with you, Brad. I think Arkansas. We talked about this before the show. There's gonna be some games in February that they're gonna be having some. They'll be going to the dentist because it'll be like pulling a root canal with the way they shoot at times. They won tonight, but their shooting was not great. And
I think shooting and defense is going to be their two Achilles heel. I mean, basically
possibly all year. I mean,
and I'm going to tell you right now, Eric Musselman is a good motivator. He gets his guys up. He's a good motivator most of the time. He's going to do a good job out of USC.
You know what? Arkansas shot 4 from 19 from 3 tonight.
Exactly.
That's not going to win you.
Not a good shooting team.
That's not going to win you many games in the SEC.
And that was against Lipscomb.
Yep.
That wasn't against
Alabama.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Tennessee, Auburn. That wasn't against those teams.
Now,
that was against Lipscomb.
I will say Arkansas will have the second best record, and I think USC will come in third. I think USC has some lumps that they're going to take. Now they do got a great player in St. Thomas. I think he's a really good basketball player. They got some guys that can, get to the rim, and I think they'll do really good out there in the.
All three of these teams, the reason why I picked these three was the coaching changes.
Yeah,
but also all three of these, also, John, all three of these teams was left with hardly anybody there, and they all had to piece this team together out of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
All three. Now, BYU had some players come back.
I'll probably get over on this, but I think Pope put out the best roster. In my opinion. Now, I will say Arkansas.
If you talk about efficiency, I think so. Arkansas, I'm gonna be honest with you, John. John L. Davis has got to play more. He's got to start and he's got to play more. And I don't know. We talked about this earlier in private. Me and you did, but I'm confused really why you go after a 20-point scorer for 2 straight years who's been to the Final Four and then not starting. I'm confused. I don't get that at all. If you're talking about shooting, if you want this team to shoot better, Johnny L. Davis has got to be on the floor. He's been one of the better shooting guards in the country for the last 2 years at FAU.
Hey.
I mean, I don't understand that, John. That's my deal. I mean, if Arkansas wants better shooting, John L. Davis has got to be on the floor. He's got to play more than 16, 18 minutes a game. And I'm not exactly understanding why he's not, to be honest. All right, John, we're going to run through some games here coming up. This is on Friday night. North Carolina takes on Kansas. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. A lot of these games are neutral site games early in the year. If they are not, I did not look up where these games are located. Because most of the time early in the year like this, they are at neutral sites, but occasionally some of these games might be at home. So I'm not real sure. But North Carolina, I think this game is at home. I think this is in the Fog. At the Fog. I think.
I'm not real sure.
It's Friday night. North Carolina takes on Kansas.
Yep. Should be interesting. Should be a, early test to see where they are. Especially, both teams are blue bloods.
Yep.
Give you an idea where everybody
should be a fun game
at this point in the year. You know, you got R.J. Davis on one side. Mayo is playing on the other side for Kansas, a really good guard for.
Yeah. You still
Kansas,
got Harris somehow.
Still got Harris.
I mean,
I think he's been there since.
Didn't he play in the championship game against Calipari when he was at Memphis?
He might have. I don't know. They still got R.J. Davis. They got, Cade Tyson. North Carolina's got a good team. Elliot Godot.
They do.
There's some dudes on this team, and it'll be an early season test, like give them an idea where they are, and it'll be sort of like a tournament game. I'm not going to pick the winner. I'm just going to say it's going to be a fun
No. We're
game.
not picking these games. I just thought we'd talk about it. We might pick some of these on Friday, but we're not picking them. I just thought we'd mention them.
Arkansas isn't losing, Clyde. Arkansas won, just so you know.
All right. Tennessee takes on Louisville this weekend. I think this game is Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, guys, if you want to look up.
It's at the Young Center.
It's at the Young? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tennessee takes on Louisville this weekend.
This is an opportunity for Louisville to get into the top 25. If they win this game, there's a good chance that they could be ranked come Monday morning. Oh, goodness gracious, man.
This is a great opportunity for Pat Kelsey, to be honest with you, early in the season here. We all know I'm not a Louisville fan, and most people know that I cannot stand Tennessee. So I hope both teams lose, to be honest with you. I hope they foul out.
Here's a good question. Here's a good question, Brad. Would you cheer for North Korea over these teams?
Maybe. You have no idea. But I will say this: it is a great opportunity for Pat Kelsey, a new coach.
Here's the thing
coming in here at home.
Exciting. We get college football. There's some really good games on Saturday, and then you get this mixture of college basketball now. That gets into
it's a fun time of the year.
It's the best time of the year, I think. And you're probably going to talk about the Baylor Arkansas game next.
Yep. Baylor Arkansas plays this weekend as well. I think this is a Saturday game. Again, I'm not sure. I didn't have enough time to look all this up before. I was running kind of close on time before the show. But Baylor and Arkansas play this weekend.
I think it's Saturday. I think it's a neutral site game.
I think it's.
I
think it is a neutral site game.
I think Baylor needs to win this game.
Baylor's looking to rebound off of the ass whooping they got from Gonzaga on Monday
They
night.
need to rebound in this game and get it together. I think this is a game that they can do that. Like I said, Arkansas can't shoot that well from the 3-point range. They're having some issues shooting the ball. It'll be interesting because Baylor didn't shoot the ball well either. So we'll find out who can mix and match and figure out how to take home a win on Saturday. This should be a fun matchup.
Yeah, it should be. This might be one that we pick this weekend because I think this is on Saturday. And then
Houston.
I think this game is over the weekend as well. Auburn plays Houston. Auburn is 11. Houston is number 4.
Auburn might be as good as Alabama, and that's no.
They're good.
They're good.
Yeah,
really
they are. Auburn plays Houston. This is going to be a tough matchup right here this weekend.
Here's the thing about Houston. They're going to beat you with defense, and they're going to slow the game down. They like to play knockdown, drag out, rock fights, and it's going to be interesting to see how they try to push Auburn into that kind of style of play because, Bruce Pearl likes to play that up and down, get up and down the floor, play, rebound the ball, get after it kind of stuff. And I think this is one of those games where it could be an early season win and a big win for the SEC if Auburn can pull it off. But
the SEC started slow. They need a win like this, to be honest.
I think Houston wins this game ultimately, but it should be a good test to see where the teams are at this stage of the year.
And then I think this is like next Monday night, I think.
Tuesday
Michigan
night.
State plays Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Oh yeah, this is
they
part
before
of the Champions Classic. Yeah, this is part of the Champions
This should
Classic.
be interesting
Michigan
too.
State and Kansas play.
Michigan State has a whole new team this year.
I think this is in Atlanta this year, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's in Atlanta this year, isn't it?
Interesting. It's always a fun game. You got Jay Billis, Schulman, Dan Schulman. They're usually there. It's usually a big thing because you got the night of those games. You usually have the college football rankings come out at halftime.
Yep.
They do the
halftime or in between games.
Between games.
I can't remember. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Another big deal. This is really, to me, I know people think, well, the season started Monday, but usually this is when to me, the real season starts because you got these teams.
This weekend, there's a bunch of games. You can see them. It gets cranked up this weekend.
Yeah, it does this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this should be fun.
Yeah.
And I'll just go ahead and say that we'll do the Duke Kentucky game. This should be interesting.
I've got it. So yeah.
Cooper Flag.
That was going to be next. Yeah.
Cooper Flag.
So Duke, Kentucky, next Tuesday night, Champions Classic.
Yeah, like I said, Cooper Flag is the freshman coming in for Duke. He's one of the high-profile freshmen. They got some other dudes on Proctor, the Moluk guy in the middle. To me, it's going to be interesting to see how Kentucky handles the stage with Mark Pope. And I say that because, it's easy to do that when you're John Calipari. You got a Hall of Fame coach. You got, the top recruiting class. And it kind of feels, I wouldn't say it's bland, but it feels kind of like.
Well, Pope's been there before as a player.
Yeah. It just feels like
Pope's been in the biggest games as a player. Now, he hasn't been on the sidelines on the coach as a coach.
That's what I'm saying. How do these kids handle the big stage against Duke? That's where.
Yeah.
Do they get blown out? Do they keep the game close? Do they? That's my biggest thing.
Right.
But
we're not picking these games right now, guys.
I'm gonna say this.
Because we may pick these on Friday night as
I'll
our
say
game
this
day
though, Brad.
pick'ems. Some of these.
I'll say this though, Brad. If Kentucky was to go in there and beat Duke, boy, oh boy, that's all I gotta say.
Oh, it'd be a big statement. Huge.
That's all I
It'd
gotta
be a
say.
huge statement for this year.
That's all I gotta say.
Of course, if Kentucky gets beat by a fairly wide margin, then people are going to say, "Oh, Kentucky's overrated," and
that's
and everything
that's
else.
That's how most fans do. So.
Now if it's like a 3-point
4-5
game or a 5-point game or something like that, they might not. But if it's a 12, 15-point win or something like that, then they're either going to say that we're overrated or whatever. Kentucky's no good. We're going to hear all that. Now, if they win, it's going to be huge. Just
because
it's
going to be like
it's going to validate everything
Mark
that
Pope.
Kentucky's done and Pope's done.
It's going to validate Mark Pope and what he is, which I think he's already validated by the UK fans. So he don't,
Well, I do too, but I'm talking about nationally. Yeah.
Nationally, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think so. So. Clyde, I hope you're right. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. And then, John, I do have one women's game that I wanted to talk about that's upcoming this weekend. Number 9, NC State plays number 1, South Carolina this weekend. NC State has a couple of really, really good girls returning on their team. They are the 9th ranked team in the country. So this is a top 10 matchup. South Carolina and Dawn Staley is not afraid to play anybody anywhere. If you look at her schedule, she played Ole Miss in Paris. She's playing this game. She plays UConn. She plays, she plays the hardest schedule. And that's why come tournament time, and the SEC on top of that, they're not afraid to play anybody.
I don't think South Carolina, they're going to be good, but I don't think they're going to be as dominant as they was a year ago. They lost some pieces.
That's where I am. So I tell you what the biggest, so they lost Camila Cardoso, which is 6'7", by the way, and probably weighed for a girl, 200 pounds. Girls, it's kind of hard. I don't know, but she was pretty big inside for a girl at 6'7".
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I think is going to be a big loss for South Carolina. Ashlyn Watkins. And I'm not exactly sure. Ashlyn Watkins in the offseason got in some trouble, some domestic violent stuff, to be honest with you, here on College SportsCast. She got in some trouble. She is supposed to be on this team. She is currently not because of the trouble that she got in. And I haven't really heard much updates. I don't really know what's going on. She is still on the team. I know that Dawn said when and if she gets back, she will be a part of this team. I don't really know any other aspects of this, to be honest with you. But what I do know is this. She's 6'3", and she dunked versus Kentucky last year in a game at Rupp. I was there. And she can jump out of the gym. She's 6'3". She is a menace inside. She would help Chloe Kitts tremendously. And I think this South Carolina team is going to miss her because they were counting on her. They thought she was going to be here, and she's not. So, they're having to play. They got a freshman. There was a number 2 overall player that's 6'3". Joyce Edwards is her name. She's probably going to be a star, but she's a freshman right now. First game the other night had 10 points. But we'll see exactly where they're at. But I think early on they're going to miss Ashlyn Watkins.
Jerry Murphy, to answer your question, I think you're probably going to have to contain one, and then whatever happens with the other one, you're just going to have to let it be, because you're not going to be able to double team two guys all night. It's because you're going to leave somebody open.
Amari Williams can probably play pretty good defense versus one of them.
Yeah, so be interesting to see how they come together.
Yeah. So, all right, man, that is our show. That is all that I have here for us tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the Big Fuss show here. First half, we talked about the college football playoff rankings. Second half, we talked about college basketball. It's a fun time of the year. You got both sports going.
I got to say something.
And we love to do a little bit of both.
Ain't you happy? No more political ads during basketball and football games.
God, yes.
It's over with, man.
Yes.
Hey, celebrate, Brad.
You have no idea. No idea. I'm so over that. You have no earthly idea.
Oh my goodness.
But I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, we did college football playoff rankings talk the first half of this show. Second half, we talked about basketball. That's probably how we're going to split things most of the time here. Now that both sports have gone, we'll probably do close to half and half or 60-40, something like that with these shows that we do, except for the Big Blue Hoops cast that we're doing. I am trying to do a basketball show for the women's and the men's together, and we are going to keep that just for Kentucky basketball. So if you're a Kentucky basketball fan, join us. I think that show is going to be on Monday nights, and we're going to discuss the latest games and the upcoming games and who had the best games and who played well and all that stuff on the Big Blue Hoops cast. So we're going to bid farewell for tonight. This is Wednesday night. We've done things a little bit different on a schedule this week. We're going to be doing our game day pick'ems on Friday night, and we will include a few of these basketball games at least. Some of the bigger games here this weekend. We will include some of those on Friday night and talk about some of those games. And if there's a point spread in some of them, we will put point spreads on them. If they're not, then we will not have point spreads. We'll just pick winners.
Yep. So
that's how we'll go, and that's how we'll do it this year. I appreciate everybody. We will see you guys on Monday night. We will see you guys on Friday night. I just talked about it and couldn't even get it right.
This election's gotten to you, man.
I just talked about it and couldn't even get it right. I don't know.
Oh,
all right. Y'all have a good night. We will see you next time.